Raiders weighing quarterback options. Could Joe Milton be in the mix? There's a lot happening in Las Vegas as the Raiders continue their search for a long-term quarterback solution. While they recently acquired Geno Smith, he's already 34, which means the team still needs to think about the future. That's where Joe Milton's name has started to surface. According to reports, the New England Patriots are looking to move Milton and are reportedly asking for a third-round pick in return. That's quite the markup, considering they originally drafted him in the sixth round. But with the Raiders still exploring their options under center, should they consider making a move? Newsweek recently listed the Raiders as the top trade destination for Milton, citing the need for a young quarterback to develop behind Smith. And given the long-standing connection between Tom Brady and the Patriots, a deal between the two sides could make sense. Andrew Buller-Russ from Sportsnaut also pointed out that the Raiders, who hold the sixth overall pick, are in a tough spot, with only two quarterbacks projected to go in the first round. Vegas may have to explore alternative routes to find their next franchise signal caller. The big question is, do the Raiders see Milton as a viable option, or will they look elsewhere? The team has a lot to figure out as the offseason progresses. Raiders quarterback conundrum. Is Joe Milton worth the gamble? The Raiders find themselves in a familiar situation, likely needing to bring in another veteran quarterback, just as they did last season with Gardner Minshew. But if they're serious about building for the future, they should at least be picking up the phone to check on Joe Milton's availability. A third-round pick for a young, physically gifted quarterback? That's not the worst price, especially considering Milton's raw talent. Standing at 6 feet 5 inches, he has the size, arm strength, and mobility that teams covet in a modern dual-threat quarterback. He's not Cam Newton, but the physical similarities are there. The right team, with the right system and coaching staff, could mold him into something special. New England's willingness to move Milton likely comes down to their commitment to Drake May as their future starter. That could open the door for Milton to land somewhere with a more immediate opportunity. Perhaps with the Raiders, who have Geno Smith as a short-term option, but still need to think about the next era under center. Milton's lone start last season came in Week 18 against the Bills, where he impressed by completing 22 of 29 passes for 241 yards and a touchdown. He also added 16 rushing yards and another score on the ground. The skill set is there. He just needs the right situation to develop. If the Raiders were to trade for Milton, it could be a low-risk, high-reward move. Sitting behind Smith for a year could allow him to develop properly rather than being thrown into the fire too soon. The only real concern is the price. The Patriots may be asking for a third-round pick, but whether they actually get that much remains to be seen. If the Raiders can negotiate a more reasonable deal, Milton could be a worthwhile investment in their long-term future. Raiders quarterback future. Is a trade for Joe Milton or a draft pick the right move? If the Raiders want to get a deal done for Joe Milton, it's possible they could make it happen without giving up too much. One idea? Packaging tight end Michael Mayer, who Josh McDaniels was high on during the draft, along with a fifth-round pick. That could be enough to convince the Patriots to move Milton, giving the Raiders a young quarterback on a rookie deal while keeping their higher draft picks to fill other needs on both sides of the ball. Of course, if they don't trade for Milton, it's not the end of the world. But it's an option worth considering, especially as they continue searching for a long-term answer under center. Speaking of quarterbacks, Geno Smith recently posted a picture with Shedeur Sanders on social media, captioning it, "Legendary." Naturally, Raider Nation had mixed reactions, some excited, others skeptical. But here's the thing. A quarterback room featuring Smith as the present and Sanders as the future could be an ideal setup for Las Vegas. Despite some concerns about Sanders in recent weeks, he remains my top quarterback choice for the Raiders. There have been reports that Sanders is slipping in the draft, which raises an interesting possibility. He could still be available when the Raiders pick at number 6. If that happens, Las Vegas should waste no time and sprint to the podium to make the selection. It would be surprising if teams like the Giants or Browns pass on him, but crazier things have happened on draft day. Bottom line, whether it's through a trade for Milton or drafting Sanders, the Raiders have options. The question is, will they make the right call? Raiders draft strategy, quarterback at number 6. Still on the table, many fans expect the Raiders to take Ashton Jeanty at number 6 overall, especially after addressing the quarterback position by trading for Geno Smith. With a major need at running back, that pick would certainly make sense. But there's another argument to be made. one that involves taking a quarterback instead. I've been open to the idea of bolstering the wide receiver position, but with all the buzz surrounding Shedeur Sanders, it's hard to ignore the possibility that the Raiders could still target him at number 6. And if that happens, I wouldn't be upset at all. I'd actually be excited. Yes, there are plenty of directions the team could go in the draft, but if they lock in their quarterback of the future and then focus on upgrading the offensive line and adding more weapons, they should be in a solid position moving forward. The Raiders have been operating on a tight budget in free agency, signing players to team-friendly deals. If they continue that approach, adding veteran weapons on affordable contracts before hitting the draft, they should be in good shape. Geno Smith is a dependable option right now, and I could see him sticking around for the next couple of seasons. But the reality is that the Raiders need to find their long-term answer at quarterback this year. They can't enter the season with only Smith and Aiden O'Connell. A young quarterback needs to be in the mix, someone who can develop and eventually take over. So, would I want to see Shedeur Sanders and Geno Smith in the same quarterback room? Absolutely. It just makes sense. In other Raiders news, according to Jordan Schultz, cornerback Darnay Holmes is re-signing with the team on a one-year deal. Raiders retain Darnay Holmes for depth in the secondary. Darnay Holmes is sticking with the Raiders for another year. After signing with the team in August 2024, Holmes played in 16 games last season, starting once when Nate Hobbs was sidelined with an injury. He proved to be a reliable option in the slot, logging 236 snaps while contributing 30 tackles, 3 passes defended, and 2.5 tackles for loss. Originally drafted in the 4th round by the Giants in 2020, Holmes spent 4 seasons in New York before landing in Las Vegas. Over his 5-year career, he's totaled 145 tackles, 21 passes defended, 4 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. Bringing him back is a smart depth move for the Raiders, especially after dealing with key losses in the secondary. While this isn't a blockbuster signing, Holmes has shown he can step up when needed, and having a dependable slot corner is always valuable. That wraps things up for now. Raider Nation, until next time.